I'm really glad I decided to do my research before buying a 7800X3D. I thought I'd heard good things about it, but guys, look, PC gamers considering a 7000X3D CPU need to work on their critical thinking skills. Influencers are paid handsomely to promote overpriced niche products like X3D. In fact, we need to watch out for AMD's army of Neanderthal social media accounts on Reddit, forums, and YouTube. They'll be singing their own praises as usual, and AMD continue to develop advanced marketing relationships with select YouTubers with the obvious aim of compensating for second-tier products with first-tier marketing. And I have to lose my my straight face as I read this, because I don't think anybody has ever seriously accused AMD of having first-tier marketing. Anyway, more on that maybe later, but where am I at here, and why is this so dangerous for people trying to build their own gaming PCs and plan out their parts and do their research? This is UserBenchmark, and please don't go here, and I'm not going to link you to it, because I would really like to solve the number one problem with UserBenchmark, which is that it tends to be the top Google search result when you search for one PC part versus another. Despite the fact that, as I'm hoping you got the message by reading their conclusion about the 7800X3D, they are not giving unbiased thoughts on which part you should buy, okay? But how did I get here? I got here in the way that a lot of people do, which is literally trying to do a good job researching products before you buy them. So if you were considering buying the latest i7 from Intel with the 14700K, or, oh, I've heard good things about that 7800X3D, you might Google search i7 14700K versus 7800X3D benchmarks. And if I don't click on a video result, if I scroll down to the number one just text-based website result and click on it, it brings you here. But before you get here, where you might get clued in that this is an incredibly biased website, what if you didn't read all that big giant block of text, or you just skimmed the top where it looks a little bit more normal? The AMD 7000X3D CPUs have the same core architecture as the rest of the blah, blah, blah. Okay, I fell asleep. Let's just look at the numbers. Ooh, the 14700K is 83% better in this category. But wait a second. What is this category? Age? They're literally ranking the age of a processor as one of the factors in their review. Like, so I don't know about you guys, but if I'm buying a processor, I'm not too concerned about if one is 6 months newer than another. I'm a lot more concerned about which one performs better. And yet that's contributing to a plus 33% result for this Intel CPU, because it's 12 months versus 18 plus months. Interesting category to use. And that's one of the big things about UserBenchmark, is that because there's clearly some editorial bias going on here, I think their words speak for themselves to back up that claim. The thing is that they can choose any categories they want, assign a numerical value to it, and factor that into their head-to-head comparison data. And if you don't closely examine what you're looking at here, you might not catch that, right? If you're just somebody Googling two parts, and this is really dangerous. I see a lot of people post on PC building forums or subreddits and things like that, like, hey, check out my build before I build it. And luckily they did, because oftentimes people are like, wait, why did you choose that part? There's a much better part for the same money. And they're like, really? I looked at head-to-head reviews, and this one I was choosing seemed a lot better. Where did you get those reviews? Well, when I Googled it, UserBenchmark popped up, and it gave a head-to-head comparison. Like, this is an extremely common thing. UserBenchmark wouldn't be coming out as the number one search result if people weren't clicking on it and using it. So, yeah. Anyway, a lot of people end up here, and it makes them uninformed on their purchases while feeling informed about it, which is, again, the most insidious thing about it. And this is really disappointing because, honestly, if you guys look at this site, I would love it if this actually gave good unbiased data. because I think this is formatted in such a user-friendly way that I see why somebody searching for this would just think this is amazing and use it for everything. Because look at it, it's incredibly easy to just pull up head-to-head comparisons with these drop-down menus of any parts you want to look at side by side. It pops up current pricing, gives you, pops up, effective comparisons between them directly, head-to-head. But then, like I said, as you dig into the details, you start to realize something's off here, right? Where, like, what kind of review website needs a tab near the top that says, why don't YouTubers promote us? And why don't PC brands endorse us? Like, sites that aren't getting a massive amount of pushback from people who know what they're talking about aren't going to need something near the top of their page explaining why nobody trusts their results who actually knows what they're talking about. Okay. Now, again, another example of this. Look at other things that pop up like in actual numerical scores in the reviews. Market share. Like, market share is literally something being given a numerical value in a head-to-head review of two CPUs. So if you're deciding which CPU to buy, do you think your purchasing decision should be based on market share? Like, that seems really, really strange. I think things like, which one's faster might be something better to base my thing on, but yet somehow market share is being factored in here. Also, user rating, not user benchmark results. Like, those are factored in because what is this website anyway? You can download a benchmark tool, benchmark your own PC, and upload the results to the site. In and of itself, that's completely innocuous, but what are those tests doing? What are they testing? And then most importantly, when it comes to these side-by-side recommendations and comparisons, what numbers are actually feeding into their overall recommendation, right? Because I certainly wouldn't think that market share should be factoring into which CPU is better as a direct number in a review. It should be the other way around, where if a CPU is better, hopefully that impacts their market share result, right? Now, in CPU sales, lately at least, that's not necessarily a complete disaster, but think of this in terms of like GPUs, for example. AMD has way less market share than NVIDIA, right? So based on this metric, pretty much no matter how good an AMD part is compared to an NVIDIA card that you pull up against it, if market share is literally one of the numbers in the review score here, that's going to be completely skewing some overall results, regardless of how fast the actual computer component is, right? Also, like I said, user rating, which is literally, as far as I can tell, given the numbers being here, just how many people click up or click down when they're on this, like, right? That's literally what they mean. It's not based on any actual objective data. It's just based on people coming to this website and clicking the up button or the down button. Really? Like, that's something that we're going to factor in as a numerical part of our scores here? So I'm hoping we're getting the idea that this website's results overall are not really to be trusted, and we're getting these types of kind of crazy stuff here. So for example, if I was researching which of these is a better gaming CPU, like, I totally understand that the 14700K could and should score better in certain tasks because it's got a lot of cores and threads, right? That could and should show up in a review. But nothing in here indicates the fact that the 7800X3D is significantly better at gaming. In fact, if we look at the gaming result here, they have the 14700K at 130% and the gaming performance of the 7800X3D at 117%. This is just nonsense, right? If we look up actual trusted review data, like Tech Power Up, for example, if I pull up their 14700K review, they definitely have the 7800X3D well ahead. I mean, not massively outperforming it, but definitely outperforming the 14700K in gaming. If we pull up Hardware Unboxed, they have the 7800X3D out well ahead of the 14700K in gaming performance. So these clearly aren't lining up. And I could have pulled up like any reputable, well-known, established reviewer, and the gaming performance numbers here just do not line up. And yet, like I said, if you're somebody trying to do your research, this is the first thing that pops up. So I'm putting out this video just to, first of all, try to educate my audience in the first place. If you were unaware, UserBenchmark is not a reliable source of which thing is faster than what other thing, okay? It's not a reliable source. It is heavily biased, both in which categories they choose to use, how they design things like their gaming tests to clearly not line up with actual, tests of multiple games. And then definitely when you read their actual text, you've got extremely biased language. I'm not a doctor, but this reads like a fairly unhinged person writing this this type of thing. And again, a trustworthy website probably doesn't need a massive section talking about why why they have a bad reputation on Reddit, why PC brands themselves don't endorse them, why YouTubers don't like them, why UserBenchmark has negative Trustpilot reviews. But they do explain why UserBenchmark is the gold standard for users. At least they have that. So again, there's just so many red flags here if you look in depth. One of the big claims, if you actually click on all this stuff and try to read what they're saying, is that they're basically accusing everyone besides themselves as being paid shills massively influenced by, especially AMD specifically, marketing campaigns and things like that, which is really interesting because, for example, like on Reddit, last time I checked, the UserBenchmark owner, operator, whatever it is, has his Reddit account banned on like Intel subreddits, and yet UserBenchmark itself is obviously extremely biased against AMD CPUs in favor of Intel. So it's a bit inconsistent with when you try to read their their claims here versus what's actually going on. And they do call out things that, like, I mean, you could legitimately have concerns about, right? Like access journalism. They get, reviewers get early access to this stuff, so they're being dishonest about it. And you can look at that, but I mean, come on, guys. Like, for example, somewhere like Hardware Unboxed, which as the major reviewers go, if you look on Reddit and things like that, get accused more than some other sites of having, being favorable to AMD or something like that. Are they actually afraid to call out bad products, right? For example, the Ryzen 7 9700X review has a headline of flop, ! Zen 5 sucks for gaming is the headline. Let's see, the 9600X review, disaster, ! Thumbs down, extremely bad value. So I'm not saying it's unreasonable to question how independent and willing to give honest thoughts a reviewer is. That's not an unreasonable stance. But if you actually just look at all major reviews, whether they're willing to call out crap when it's crap, no matter which company it's from, then you kind of start questioning things like, how come UserBenchmark is saying that they are the only trustworthy site? Because everybody else is, basically just paid shills, which is kind of what their argument is here. Anyway, so like I said, the claim that the PC gamers considering a 7000X3D CPU need to work on their critical thinking skills because influencers are paid handsomely to promote overpriced niche products. I mean, do influencers get paid to promote products? Yes, but paid promotions need to be called out clearly. And like I said, generally bad parts by trustworthy review sites get called bad parts. And an overwhelming majority of independent reviews have the 7800X3D as the current fastest gaming CPU. Maybe that'll get supplanted when the 9800X3D comes out, but even Intel themselves admit like their next line of gaming CPUs isn't going to beat a 7800X3D in gaming performance, right? And yet you have this website claiming that the gaming performance on the 14700K is better than this. and this is the top search result. So again, just beware of user benchmark being used to give head-to-head comparison data. Warn your friends, but please don't link to user benchmark to further increase their search engine alignment and whatnot, and don't go there either. I'm going here a couple of clicks just to warn you guys about it, to hopefully reduce the clicks in general. And like I said though, I really overall like the concept of this site, like having these easy drop-down menus of like, oh man, it's so easy to get any kind of CPU or GPU head-to-head. Overall, a really cool concept. So it would be really nice if we could get a unbiased version of this type of site to overtake this extremely unhinged and biased website in the search engine results and usability. Because like I said, it's a cool concept and you can see why people get drawn into it. But it's clearly has some issues, and I think is the biggest problem for people who are getting into trying to research their build without having been in the space long enough to have heard that user benchmarks is garbage. Anyway, hopefully you guys found the video useful and or interesting, and I hope all of you have an excellent day.